mystery is how to solve the visceral fat problem that cannot be removed by lasers or radio frequency. Visceral fat cannot be removed by lasers or radio frequency because it wraps itself around the vital organs and sometimes it invades them. That's how we have what we call the fatty liver. You can see here the fatty liver inside the liver. And of course, if you had a laser or a RF, then it would probably damage the actual vital organ. There are studies from novel universal technology that show a significant reduction of visceral fat of 30.34%. And now you see here the individual scores of different subjects that participated in the study. This is an MRI slide that shows again a significant reduction in visceral fat after this technology. It's like an effortless exercise. It's not a laser or a RF, but it's like an effortless exercise, and I'll talk about it a little bit later. This is a subject that donated 2 of her pictures. This is 2 treatments, and gave us consent to use it. This is another subject, or 6 treatments. Again, she gave us consent to use the picture. This is a technology that was developed after 27 years of laboratory empirical trial and error research. So it was theoretical by Jerry Pollock, who was also a inventor of the first pacemaker, and Donald Gilbert, who was a molecular biologist. An early research on gene expression, again from London University, showed the rapid muscular hypertrophy, 250% increase in the RNA content in the muscles, and repression of the fast-type genes and activation of the skeletal slow-type genes. There is a lot of publications of mine on these technologies after clinical trials that we conducted. This is 2, there's more publications, again, with different. This is about actually 20 publications. You can find all this if you go to scholar.google.com and you type in my name, Zania Sofra. Now, why is visceral fat a problem? Because it causes inflammation and toxicity. And once it causes that, obesity doesn't come along. It brings diabetes, it brings infection, it brings cardiovascular disease, eye disorders, joint pain, colon and breast and lung cancers, arthritis, Alzheimer's disease, asthma, and inflammatory bowel disease. And here is a lot of references that are basically on that subject, what visceral fat can produce. Now, why laser and RF cannot particularly work for this disorder is because they release triglycerides, glucose, and toxins into the bloodstream, but without exercise, so it's another type of alternative exercise, they remain in the bloodstream and may clog your arteries. This is what basically triglycerides looks like. And again, we did another study with this technology I discussed previously. Triglycerides decreased by 40.7%, and you can see the decrease of triglycerides of the individual subjects here. Again, we looked at the VLDL, the very low density lipoprotein, the bad cholesterol, the decrease, and we found 71.88% of VLDL decrease. And again, here is the decrease of each subject. Again, some people, the VLDL decreased more, some people decreased less. It depends on the body. Here is the detox study, only 1 treatment, and again, this client gave us permission to utilize the pictures. Now, the interesting part about toxicity is that the more toxic you are, the more hungry you are. Because hormonal imbalance also affects the appetite hormones. So it increases the appetite, the hunger. Then you consume more food, you gain weight, you have more toxicity, more hormonal imbalance. Basically, it's a vicious circle. So toxins interfere with these appetite hormones, leptin and ghrelin. Leptin reduces appetite because it's a satiation hormone, and ghrelin increases hunger. And there has to be a balance between these 2 hormones. So we looked at those hormones, again with the same technology, and we found a significant increase of leptin of 32.23%, and a decrease of ghrelin of 14.5%. Now, toxicity also interferes with metabolism. And we looked at the blood under the microscope of 19 subjects, and we also find not only that the blood separated, so the blood flow, of course, is better, but oxidative stress decreased, bacteria decreased, thrombocyte aggregation decreased, and tuber forms as well. So the blood was cleaner. Now, this is what a low free T3 looks like. It gives you low metabolism, and it can be within the normal range, but at the bottom of the normal range. If you are at the peak of your normal range, then you're going to have much faster metabolism. It's not going to affect the weight. Now, metabolism and free T3 increase was also documented and recorded by the same technology, up to 30%. Again, different subjects had different results. One of them was only 12.5, but one of them was 41, and then you get the average, you get this number. Now, there is slimming with the lasers and the RF. However, they do not change the metabolism, so sometimes results will rebound because of hunger. Because if they don't change the metabolism and the toxicity continues to increase hunger, then the results will rebound. But if you have a fitness result, then there will be no rebound, and your hunger is going to be reduced, and your metabolism will be increased. So we looked again at the skeletal muscle mass, if it increases when we use this London University technology, because if it doesn't, then there is no fitness. And we did find that there was an increase of the skeletal muscle mass at 36.45%. So also we found that, this is again an MRI slide before and after. And we also found an IGF-1 increase that is also involved in muscle building of 25.85%. And all of those percentages were within the normal range, but at the peak of the normal range. And that was basically what made the difference. Now, the problem with being over 50 years old, yes, you can go to the gym, but because you have visceral fat, the visceral fat is very difficult to get rid of, and it requires very strenuous exercise. Basically, what you're going to get muscle on top of the visceral fat. You're not going to get basically this. Why? Because that's a young person that does not have visceral fat, so basically just use its subcutaneous fat to build the muscle. The other problem with strenuous exercise, which you need to remove the visceral fat, is that what happens with overtraining is your testosterone is decreased and your cortisol is increased. There's a lot of studies on that. Now, what happens if that is the case, then the symptoms of high cortisol, again, weight gain, and of course mood swings and all kinds of other problems that you don't want to have, and low testosterone, you feel depressed, heart disease, visceral fat increases. So basically you exercise, but the results, you get into this vicious circle. So with this technology, because it's effortless, it does not affect cortisol. Basically, cortisol decreases by 7.33% according to our studies, and the testosterone increases by 62.18%. So it's basically the opposite of exercise. And exercise is very, very important. It should be part of this process. It's just that you can jumpstart your exercise regime with this technology. This is a diabetic patient. You can see that sonography report showed no fatty liver. We have done recently a study with 11 subjects. We found fatty liver, no fatty liver after. And back pain was reduced as well. And there was the diabetic status also was reduced. Another diabetic that gave us consent to use his pictures with insulin resistance that showed that there was no fatty liver, and also showed the insulin fasting and postprandial insulin and triglycerides went down, whereas HDL, which is the good, that's the high density lipoprotein, went up, which is exactly what you want, and the back pain was reduced. This is a subject, only one treatment, part of that study group. Again, only one treatment. This was 6 treatments. Men are more resistant. But this one is only one treatment. You can see he's already developed some muscle there. And this is how basically the technology works. It's a motor nerve blueprint signals enter the cell, hunting for the motor nerve. And it fuses with the motor nerve signals. And the sensory nerves carry this whole construct back to the brain. The brain, the walkings basically, the brain starts releasing the hormones that are necessary for fat burning and muscle building. The hormones which the fat cells, insulin signals enter the cells, the fat cells start shrinking because they kind of release their contents into the bloodstream. That glucose is turning ATP into energy, and that's how you build the muscle. And here is our medical board. There is a number of doctors. There's more than this now that are involved in different studies and they have different projects that they are engaged in. And with this, I would like to conclude my lecture and thank you very much. If you have any questions, please email at science@iellios.com and I will give you any additional information that you may require. Thank you.